programming to help students, faculty, staff, and community members who are interested in learning entrepreneurial skills to either start a new venture or innovate within their own organizations. Winners are building their businesses, many at the edge.
Through competing in competitions that the Edge has kind of set me up to be a part of, I've learned a lot about both myself and my business as a whole. It's opened the door to several investment opportunities, to partnerships, and helped me really solidify my business plan to be sure that we are 100% ready to move forward from here on out.
The University of Alabama has been extremely helpful with us developing our business from when we were just a napkin sketch idea. And as we found our way to the Edge, that's when everything just expedited our process.
Dr. Welburn, Josh, Michael, the whole team here at the Edge is always willing to lend a hand and give you their advice and help you any way they can. And without that network of people trying to push you forward and get this off the ground, we'd be a lot further back than where we are today.
To build a greater future, where do you begin? You expand access to education and technology. You transform the workforce and ignite tomorrow's economic engines. You engage thousands of the world's most talented faculty to lead the next generation of students and researchers. You build higher education's most powerful AI supercomputer, creating opportunities for students and faculty across every discipline to learn this groundbreaking technology and use it to solve our world's most pressing challenges. You change how people learn, discover, explore, and work forever. Where do you begin? At the University of Florida. Our unstoppable future is here today.
Today's rapidly evolving economy presents great opportunities, but also grand challenges. The world is calling for better solutions, and we are answering the call, just as we've done since 1785. We're bringing together the thinkers, the dreamers, the doers, to bring ideas to life and connect solutions with the problems that matter most. This is where industry meets academia, where creativity meets impact. This is where good ideas collide and become products and ventures that will drive economic development. This is where innovation changes lives.
What's your path?
What's your path?
What's your path?
What's your path?
My path helped me start a sustainable business.
My path is preparing me to make a difference in the business world.
My path is preparing me for business engineering.
My path took me all over the world, including Ecuador and New Zealand.
If you're someone who wants to,
then join us on a Gatton pathway. Then join us on a Gatton pathway.
On the social entrepreneurship pathway, we shape sustainable communities.
On the engineering and management pathway, we are driving innovative business solutions.
On the Global Scholars pathway, we travel the world learning about international business.
Now I'm on the path to be a CEO.
Now I'm on a path to shape a more diverse future.
On my path, I'm learning from different cultures to improve my business perspective.
Now I'm on a path to work in international economic development.
I'm on a path to be a general manager for the NBA. If you're someone who wants to,
then we'll see you on a Gatton pathway.
Then we'll see you on a Gatton pathway.
Then we'll see you on a Gatton pathway.
What's your path?
When the ground shifts beneath you, you can run or you can stand firm. At LSU, our stand is rock solid. Our blood runs hot, even as our heads stay cool. Because now is a pivotal moment in the fight for our future. And we refuse to back down when the world needs solutions. LSU, fierce for the future.
Creating a legacy takes time, takes dedication, spirit, and a greater vision. That vision starts here at the University of Mississippi. What will you be remembered by? Your character, your contributions, your friendship. Your legacy will define who we are now and who we are becoming for our state, our students, and our future. Ole Miss, build your legacy.
Our world is changing. The way we work, the way we connect, the way we see things around us. At Mississippi State University, we're agents of change, creating our own bright futures, solving real problems, turning challenges into possibilities, and lighting the way to a whole new world of emerging markets. Through MSU's new state-of-the-art Center for Entrepreneurship and Outreach, we're collaborating across campus, sharing perspectives and resources of multiple disciplines to power dreams. But we're so much more than dreamers. We've launched hundreds of student-led businesses, earning millions in revenue, and impacting our state's economy in new and creative ways. We're the next generation of business leaders, and we're ready for a changing world. How do we know we're ready? Because we're the ones changing it.
Perspective.
Educational.
Networking.
Exhilarating.
Intentional.
Conditioning.
Exhilarating.
Growth.
Redesigned.
I am made of 200-year-old tradition and endless memories. I am made of unrelenting inquiry, home to those who raise the bar and raise it again. I am made of bright conviction, of grit, of growth, of greatness. I am South Carolina.
Come with me on a visit to this oldest public university in Texas. Rich in heritage.
Since 1876, Aggies have been the catalyst behind ideas and endeavors that change the world. And the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship is dedicated to keeping that tradition alive and well at Texas A&M. At the McFerrin Center, we believe strong leaders become strong founders. We believe you shouldn't have to choose between launching your company and earning your degree. But most importantly, we believe everyone can be an entrepreneur. Whether you're an incoming freshman or former student, dance major or nuclear engineer, we want to help you achieve your goals, pursue your passions, and realize your dreams. Here you'll learn what it means to be an entrepreneur. You'll be pushed outside your comfort zone, and you'll be challenged in ways that matter. Just starting a company doesn't make you an entrepreneur. But if you're a creator, innovator, thinker, and doer who is passionate about big issues and solving real problems, then you're already thinking like an entrepreneur. Discover what you are capable of and join a community of trailblazers who aren't afraid of the unknown and don't give up when others call their dreams impossible. Shape your future at the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship.
Welcome back to round two of the 2020 SEC Pitch Competition
This is pitch group 1. We have the same teams we had this morning. We'll be pitching this afternoon. And as we did in the morning round, each team will have 5 minutes to present and then 5 minutes of Q&A by the judges. For the teams, we have a new round of judges that'll be taking care of us this afternoon. So I'd like to take a moment before we get started just for the judges to introduce yourselves again to this group of contestants. So Lee Harris, why don't we start with you?
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Harris. I am the General Manager and Chief Financial Officer for 2 companies. One is a landscaping company in Starkville, Mississippi that does landscaping and hardscape, as well as another company that is in the construction business also here in Starkville. Both these were started by a local entrepreneur. I spent 25 years in the steel and scrap metal industries, most recently for about 19 years as the Regional Chief Financial Officer for an Australian, world's largest scrap company. My undergraduate degrees from Baylor in marketing, master's from the University of Northern Colorado in business, and then another bachelor's in accounting from Mississippi State. So really excited about this program.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate that. Tara Wilson. Tara, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Tara Wilson and War Eagle. I'm an Auburn graduate. I'm also the 2018 Entrepreneur of the Year from Auburn, and I've judged multiple pitch competitions at Auburn University. So I'm thrilled to be here with all of you through the SEC. I own an experiential marketing agency. That means that I do large scale event marketing for Fortune 500 companies, getting their product or service in the hands of their consumers, creating an experience where they can become raving fans. Really excited to see the pitches this afternoon. Certainly was very impressed with the ones this morning. And again, appreciate the opportunity to be a judge at this competition.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tara. April Segerbrook, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hey, good morning or afternoon, I guess I should say. My name is April Segerbrook. I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer at Movista. It's a enterprise SaaS platform that is sold in retail. It actually came out of a program similar to the one that you guys are in right now. We're 10 years running strong and exciting, but enterprise SaaS is a lot. So I also, at the same time, as a balance to my sanity, we started 5 restaurants, and all those are going well. And that's kind of the thing that, like I said, gives us a sanity check with all the software work. And then along the way, a couple different real estate group, and then also an investment group. So do a lot of different work with, whether it's sitting on boards or advisors or mentoring, as well as investing in not SaaS, but startup companies like yourselves. So it's super exciting to be here, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you seven groups have to share today.
So April, just to make sure I'm clear, you start more companies to keep your sanity. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly right. So that's the year we started the software. It's called Movista. Back in 2010, we didn't know what we were doing, but we literally started a restaurant and bar, which is now it's won James Beard Awards and all that. But we started a restaurant and bar because we were terrified of the software company, and that if it went under, we'd have nothing. So what do? We start a business in the most risky industry there is. So I don't know how it was worked out. Probably a ton of luck and I know a crap load of hard work. So, yep, that's what we do.
Sounds great, April. Interesting. All right, Tom Reed. Tom, tell us about yourself.
The one piece of advice you probably get from all of us is it's the crap load of hard work that is the most important thing. Tom Reed, serial entrepreneur. I've been on the Inc. list of fastest growing privately held companies 7 times with 3 different startups. Most recent one of those made a lot of different fragrance products actually had a factory in Starkville, Mississippi. Still have a factory there, although we've got a couple of them now, about 650 employees now. Sold most of that business about 4 or 5 years ago, focused on a lot of different volunteer work. I'm also the mayor of a startup city in Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, and just love doing these things. Our businesses were all built on the energy of 20-somethings. So I love being in a room with a bunch of people like that are creating a business. And very much appreciate all the work that you guys put into being here. And I'm glad I'm here too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tom. And welcome everyone back from lunch. Hope you had a good lunch, and contestants were able to adjust any things you wanted to tweak in your pitches. And like I said before, in the morning, we're going to go in the reverse order in the afternoon. So Zach from Auburn and Vulcan Line Tools, you're up first. As soon as you're ready, I think the judges are probably ready. So Zach, just start when you want to, and I'll start the timer when you start.
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Let's see. All right. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Zach Young, and I'm the president and founder of Vulcan Line Tools. Vulcan Line Tools was founded in 2019 by myself with the goal of revolutionizing a $407 billion per year industry. That's the electric utility industry. Electric utilities are companies like Alabama Power and Georgia Power. So the problem in the electric utility industry right now is that most of their power lines that they're constructing are not being constructed to the standards of which they were designed. And not only does this violate the National Electrical Safety Code, which they are required by law to adhere to, it also exposes these utilities to enormous amounts of liability if one of their power lines comes crashing down. I think everybody remembers the Camp Fire in California. Pacific Gas and Electric they recently had to pay $11 billion in damages. And that was all due to one power line that was installed incorrectly. So here's an example of the workflow that goes on in the industry today that really highlights what the problem is. So starting off, you'll have an engineer at an electric utility who's tasked with designing a new power line. So he'll go through and he'll design this power line so that it meets the right specifications. On his design sheet, he specifically lists out the exact sag, tension, and temperature that the power line must be put up at so that it meets code. So this engineer then hands the sheet to line crews who are tasked with going out and building the power line that the engineer designed. So this is where the problem really comes up. These line crews do not have an easy method of measuring sag, tension, and temperature in power lines while they're constructing it. And this is due to the current methods of measuring sag, tension, and temperature being slow, expensive, and they're a burden on the workflow. And so what ends up happening is these line crews, because the current methods are so not easily implemented, they end up eyeballing the power line, and therefore the power line is then installed, not according to specifications. Basically what happens is it's almost like building a house and not using a tape measure. So here's what happens when you put up a power line with too much tension. This power line failed and it landed on a car. Luckily nobody was killed in this picture. Here's an example of what happens when you don't put enough tension on a power line when you install it. It'll sag too low, and this power line right here snagged a box truck.
It's captured on dash cam video. Watch as a truck snags an overhead wire pulling down a utility.
Yep. So in essence, these linemen need an easy method of measuring sag, tension, and temperature in power lines while they're building it. If they can do this, it'll assure that the power lines that they build were the ones that were designed. So that brings us to our solution. The solution is the wave timer. I've been working on it for about 2 years now. It is the fastest, easiest, and least expensive method of measuring sag, tension, and temperature in power lines while you're building it on the market today. In fact, it's the only device on the market that measures sag, tension, and temperature in one unit. Here's an example of the wave timer in action.
Grab the wave timer firmly around the case, pull down rapidly, release quickly, and after 5 seconds, the sag in the conductor will be displayed on the application. Here, we can see that this conductor currently has 61 inches of sag.
Yep, so if you're a lineman out in the field, all you have to do is strap this thing to the power line, make sure it's connected to the wave timer app, press start, you hit the power line, and 5 seconds later, you've got sag, tension, and temperature. So then you can compare that to what the sag is supposed to be, and you can either tighten the power line or loosen it to make sure that it's built according to spec. We'll talk a little bit about what else is on the market right now. As you can see, the wave timer is the only device on the market that measures sag, tension, and temperature in one device. All the other methods either measure sag or tension, and they don't have any temperature functions. Also, something cool about the wave timer is it has the ability to log data. So in a court of law, if a power line comes crashing down or something, the electric utilities can defend themselves because now they have a sheet of paper that proves that they built the power line that was designed. Also, this is one of the biggest advantages, and the reason the wave timer it's going to be so successful is speed. See, the wave timer gets all three of those values in about 5 seconds. Every other method is about 15 to 30 minutes to get just sag or tension. And also, you can see in terms of cost, the wave timer is a lot less inexpensive than the other methods. As far as current users, so we have 2 wave timer prototypes that are being tested in the industry right now. Alabama Power and Georgia Power both have units. Mr. Shaneyfelt from Alabama Power called me up the other day. He's over training there, and he said that they've had a power line they've had problems with. They use traditional methods to measure the sag. They came up with 153 inches. He told me he put our unit up there, the wave timer. They hit it one time. It hit 153 inches on the dot, and it did it in 5 seconds. He told me he was sold. And finally, we'll talk about our revenue models and financial projections. Vulcan Line Tools, we estimate that there's about 63,000 line trucks in the United States, and we believe that we can put a wave timer unit on every single one of those trucks. So by the end of year 3, if we can put a wave timer on 25.5% of those trucks, we'll have reached a gross margin of $8.4 million. Here's my contact information. Thank you guys for your time. And if you have any questions.
Judges, why don't we start with Lee? Do you have any questions for Zach?
I do. First of all, very interesting idea, Zach. How did you come up with the idea? And then second of all, how did you determine your pricing? Because I noticed your pricing at $895 was significantly different than the competitors that didn't do as much as your product.
Yes, sir. So I came up with the idea for the device. My dad's been in the industry for his entire life. This is actually old technology. What they used to do in the 1930s, they would slap the power line and they'd time it with a stopwatch. So basically all I did was automate that as far as the idea. For the pricing of it, the other units that are being sold right now, the dynamometer and the total station, they're like $3,300 and $20,000. Those are not meant specifically for the electric utility industry, and they're not selling very well. So the reason that I priced it lower like that was the utilities right now are not buying those dynamometers and their units because, price is one of the main factors. That's why I priced it lower. We have looked at changing it from, a one-time cost to like a subscription or a leasing type deal yes, sir.
April, do you have a question?
Yeah, let's talk about manufacturing. How are you going to build, I can't remember, 61,000 maybe is what the trucks were. How are you going to build, and what experience do you have in it?
So right now I haven't really looked at, if we had to build 61,000 units. Right now I'm the manufacturer of the wave timers. I'm trying to raise some money to get an injection mold. Once I get that, all that I'll have to do is pay for the injection mold and everything else. I solder everything up and put them together myself. As we expand, I'll probably bring on more people to handle the manufacturing aspect of it so that I can handle the business part.
Cool.
Tom, do you have a question?
What is this something that you can patent? What prevents somebody else from knocking this off?
Yes, sir. I have a provisional patent.
Perfect.
April, do you have a question, April?
I think you, Tara. That's okay.
Tara,
Hi, Zach. Tara Wilson, Auburn University. Is your product a one-time purchase? I noticed when you were showing your revenue model, and if maybe you could pull that screen up, just talk to me about, I put it on the truck one time. How soon do you think that it would need to be replaced? Or,
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes. So right now we're looking at it, pricing it as a one-time purchase. We have classified it, as an instrument, so it would need to be calibrated. So that's where we get our, reoccurring revenue in. Every year we take and bring these units back in. We make sure everything's working on it correctly and then send them back out. We're looking at around $100, for every time it gets calibrated per year. As far as pricing, we have looked at going to more of a subscription-based thing. We're still researching that.
Okay. All right, great. And is there any, you talked about the data collection. So from a legality standpoint, if a power company were to be sued, they have your initial findings of.
Exactly.
tension, temperature, and
Got it. Yes, ma'am. So in the app, actually, it takes and spits out a PDF that has sag, tension, and temperature. It has the time that it was recorded. You can also input what size wire it was, pole, location, all of that stored on a document, and then you could send that off to someone back at the electric utility. And now they have proof that power line they designed was the one that the power line that was built, and they can use that in a court of law. Right now, there's no data collection whatsoever. They don't know what they put the power lines up at, but majority of the time.
Great.
Or they don't have a document saying that they did too. They might know it is correct, but they don't have proof of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from our judges?
I got one since we have time. Have you looked into selling channels within the electrical, within this industry, meaning a place so you don't have to worry about selling the 63,000 of them, but something else that's non-competitive, but it's almost like ancillary?
So
you could sell along with?
Right now, I've got a manufacturer sales rep team. So they've got, the golden handshake with everyone in the industry. Basically what I'll do is all I do is take care of manufacturing the units, give it to them, and then they take a little, percent off the top whenever they make sales. That's really how I plan on, scaling this thing and taking it to market.
Cool.
Using those guys instead of having, me having to walk in there and, try to sell it myself.
That's all for me.
Thank you.
All right, Tennessee, if you'll let me know if you're ready.
Great. Let me share my screen.
Okay, hold on a second. Judges, are you all ready?
Just about.
Okay, just 1 second.
Great.
Okay, judges ready? Everyone ready? Just a second, let me make sure the timer's ready. Okay, Tennessee, you can start whenever you're ready.
Great. Meet Justin and Shams. These men explained to me the frustrations of finding functional clothing and opened my eyes to the fact that getting dressed is not always an easy act. I was shocked by this realization, but as I began looking deeper into this problem, I found that function alone is not the only missing piece. There are millions of people looking for clothing that is just as fashionable as it is functional. Soon after learning this, I was diagnosed with a rare genetic mutation and could relate personally to the need for functional fashion. By listening to the stories of hundreds of people, we have found a hole in the fashion industry and are filling it with a fully adaptive fashion line for adults. My name is Mary Kate Brakefield, and I'm the co-founder of Brakefields. Fashion may seem like a frivolous industry, but our clothing choices hold incredible weight. Fashion is how we communicate ourselves visually to the world. It facilitates social interaction, boosts confidence, and provides an outlet for creative expression. We have created a fashionable line to effectively address the fact that millions of people are unable to access these powerful attributes. Our initial collection includes the shirt you see here, and I'm going to stop sharing for a moment to show you in person. From the outside, this is simply a cute top. Our goal will always be that unless you need our adaptive features, you won't even know they're there. But if you look a little bit closer, there are actually 10 individual features that make this top more universally accessible. That includes our patent-pending dual-access pocket technology for devices like an insulin pump, and our Velcro closures that make getting dressed easy, even with limited dexterity. Each of our products comes from hours of work, thought, and research. But on the customer's end, it couldn't be more simple. They purchase a fashionable garment and it fits. We all know someone with a disability. Brakefields is initially choosing to serve a subset of the functional fashion market with a compound annual growth rate of 4%. This creates an $80 billion market in 5 years. Our market estimate is factored for target disabilities, plus fashion consciousness and disposable income. There is ample room for Brakefields to enter the adaptive market. We differ from our closest competitor through our customizable hem options and patent-pending pocket technology. Plus, we simply have a different style. If you are an able-bodied person, you have thousands of brands to choose from. People with disabilities deserve choices too, and we can provide that. Our management team and advisors have distinct capabilities. I am the CEO, and our creative director is Stephanie Brakefield. We both have prior experience with retail startups, the creativity to design desirable, fashion-forward products, and the business acumen to see Brakefields to success. In addition, we have gathered a comprehensive team of advisors who are experts in their fields, including Scott Rowe, CFO of the 10th largest apparel retailer in the world, and Myra Loveday, a former Buyer of the Year for Saks Fifth Avenue. Both Brakefields and our manufacturing partner are headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. Through our market research, we have found that many of our customers have found community with other people with similar disabilities. Whether this is through an adaptive sports team, a Facebook group, or simply following disabled influencers on Instagram, these groups all have the ability to quickly spread the word about disability representation. We will build off of our already established relationships to make sure Brakefields products are a part of these conversations. We also have specific plans to reach customers through both digital and physical channels. Our team designs specifically with disability in mind, but externally, our customers will see a truly inclusive brand. We hear over and over how desired our products are among people with no medical considerations. Rather than creating more division with separate departments for different customers, we embrace true inclusion and welcome people of all body types to shop together and enjoy the benefits of functional fashion. This marketing message will be clear through our use of inclusive language and imagery in company media. We operate on an e-commerce made-to-order model that offers customers more customizable clothing and allows us to avoid inventory risk. We guarantee our customers will receive their order within 14 days. We expect to reach over $2.5 million in revenue by our 5th year of operations. With custom ordering and outsourced manufacturing, we achieve a steady gross margin in the mid-60s and build a very healthy return on the invested capital of $80,000 we raise in year 1. You can help us grow a functional fashion label that will be sustainable. The money from this competition will help us serve the customers that can't wait to finally have functional fashion options. Thank you.
Judges, who's got questions? Why don't we start with Tara?
Yes, hi. Okay, and do you go by Mary
Caton?
Caton, thank
Yes.
you. All right, Mary Caton, that's a great idea, and I appreciate it. Can you talk to me about the average price point per garment and the number of garments you intend to launch in your initial collection and or the collection you've already launched? Number of garments in it?
Yes, so the shirt that you saw today retails for $124. Our range is from that $124 up to $165. The initial line includes the shirt you saw today, as well as another one of our samples. This is our pleated skirt. So it has the same great fabric quality. It has shorts built in underneath, and then it has our patent pending dual access pocket here in the back. We will also launch with a pair of wide leg pants, a wrap dress, and a pencil skirt. And that is what we're planning to launch with, but we have lots of plans for additional product drops starting 3 months after the official or the initial launch.
Okay, so let me just clarify. So your initial target audience is female?
Correct.
Okay, all right, great. And your starting price point is $124?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tom, do you have any questions for Mary Kate?
You know, I'm curious, the idea of selling over Shopify, obviously people do that with clothing all the time. This is kind of unique clothing, and you're, you know, going toward people that might feel more of a need to try it on, right? And so you're custom manufacturing. How is that going to work? How did they get to try something on? What do they do if it doesn't work for them? All of that.
So unfortunately, a lot of people with disabilities are not able to go in store and shop because so many brick and mortar stores are not accessible. And so then their only option is to be online. Well, they run into the problem there of clothing charts are measured on an able-bodied, straight-sized woman. And so they don't always fit the same if you're seated in a wheelchair or if you have dwarfism. We are offering custom sizing charts to solve that problem. So someone is going to be able to come and see, they're going to be able to guess their size a lot more accurately and be happy with the product they receive instead of having to send it back.
Okay. Lee, do you have a question?
I do. Can you address the manufacturing process? I noticed it was a very quick turnaround from the time the order is placed. Could you kind of talk about that a little bit more, Mecca?
It is. So we guarantee that within 14 days of placing your order, you will have your order in your hands. The manufacturer that we're working with, On Point Manufacturing, they actually are more likely to have, they say that they're able to have the turnaround of 3 days. So we're planning to underpromise and overdeliver and have really satisfied customers when they get their product sooner than expected.
So are they drop shipping it?
They are, yes.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you.
Of course.
Very interesting idea too.
Thank you.
Thanks. April, do you have something?
Yeah, so super interesting, and there's the social side of this that you have, which is great. Less of a question, more of just a thought. Maybe I'll turn it into a question. Given to your point that the price point is high because it's almost custom manufactured, and many times they can't actually go into the store to try it on. Have you thought of pairing up with, because you're all about the design and the manufacturing of the actual product, and you care less about this element, but there's software out there that will almost do a scan of your body to help for proper fit, whether it's jeans or whatever. But partnering with or collaborating in some way with that type of technology to help on the fit side, because my goodness, we want to get these guys a good fit, and that would actually support your price point.
Absolutely. That's something that we would love to have be a part of our business model. Right now, it doesn't seem like those technologies are quite advanced enough to really ensure that correct fit. And so we're hoping to explore that later on once these technologies have had time to mature and really be worth the price point that they're at right now.
Okay.
We've got about 30 seconds, as you can see from the sign I'm holding up. Any last minute questions from any of the judges?
Will you tell us what you're going to do with the funds if you were to win the pitch competition?
Yes, the $5,000 from this funds would cover every bit of our pre-revenue costs and help us get into business, get our hands into our products into the hands of the people most excited about them.
Great.
Fantastic. All right. Mary Caton, there you go. Just right in time. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. All right, judges, while you're making your notes, next up is Florida, and then we'll have Alabama. And after Alabama, we'll take a 10-minute intermission. So Sheldon with Cocovina in Florida, looks like you're almost ready. Judges, if you would let me know when you're ready, we can have Sheldon start. Sheldon, you're ready, right?
Yep, I'm good to go whenever they are.
Oh, fantastic. So judges, just let me know when you're ready to go. Okay, judges, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, Sheldon, start whenever you're ready.
Hi, I'm Sheldon Barrett. So bottled coconut water sales are skyrocketing, making it the fastest growing beverage right now in the world. It's grown to over $1 billion of an industry just here in the United States alone. However, most bottled coconut water is pasteurized, which destroys nutrition and alters the taste. This is not the case for fresh coconuts, but chopping them open is very dangerous. It's very messy. You spill coconut water everywhere, and it requires skills. So I founded this company a few years ago after being diagnosed with high blood pressure. At that time, the medications my doctors prescribed did not lower my blood pressure enough. But what did help was to also drink fresh coconut water because of its high levels of potassium and vitamin C. Living in South Florida, I had the coconut trees in the front yard, and my dad would use this machete to chop open those coconuts. But when he wasn't home, I couldn't drink my own fresh coconut water. So I created Coconut Twist. Coconut Twist is a can opener for coconuts. It cuts a 1-inch hole into the coconut safely in seconds. It's portable, it's durable, and it doesn't create a mess. It also cores fruits such as apples and pineapples and open wine bottles. But the best part is that the utility patent has been granted. So when you look at our first competitor, Coconut Knife, it only works on the youngest coconuts and it breaks on mature coconuts. And you have to use a straw with this product, meaning you can't pour rum into your coconuts, which sucks. So for Coconut Jack, it only works on the Thai coconuts. It's not too different from a machete and is very, very loud and difficult to use. Regardless, they did $325,000 in sales in their first 9 months just from their website alone, showing the huge demand for these coconut products. Luckily, their deal with Mr. Mark Cuban didn't go through, so I don't have to compete with a billionaire. So all across the board, Coconut Twist dominates on durability, opening all types of fresh coconuts. It's safe, requires low strength, and it's portable, meaning retail shelf space is obtainable. So the first 1,000-unit batch has been completed in China, and I am awaiting the first production sample right now at this time. And if I approve that, I'll have an expected launch of December 2020 of this year. So there are other products that have been developed, but right now the big focus is on launching Coconut Twist properly this year. So I'll be first testing my supply chain online at cocovana.com and amazon.com, where I have about 900 plus pre-orders. And then I'll be reaching back out to Whole Foods and Kroger, who have already successfully pitched this product to in the past. But the breaking news is that Cocovana has just advanced to phase 2 of the Making It with Lowe's contest, meaning Cocovana is going to be a product vendor for Lowe's, getting distribution, marketing, as well as retail advising from them. So when we go to marketing online, we'll be focusing it on health because the biggest trend in the food and beverage industry is naturality. Facebook ads will be used to target our primary market segments to help drive customers to cocovana.com for conversions. And distribution will be handled by Fulfillment by Amazon FBA. For retail marketing, we're going to take a point of sales marketing to educate the customer because most people don't know that white thing over there on the right sold in all the Whole Foods across the country is a coconut. So we do this by using a point of sale printout that says coconut plus coconut twist equals coconut water. And this is allowed by managers. And for distribution, we're going to use companies with pre-existing ties to these retailers, which includes Fortune, Fishco, who charges a 7% markup. So we're going to also have obviously flashy packaging in retail that tells the customer exactly what the product is without them having to read anything. And the product we place right next to the fresh coconuts in the produce section. So for the management team, it's just me as of right now, the 2018 University of Florida Student Entrepreneur of the Year. I have a background in engineering and I've been in Forbes, Inc. magazine, and ABC News. But I know you can't run a company all on your own. So in year 2, I'll be adding a sales and marketing role as well as an operating role for supply chain and logistics and a finance role. So for advisory board, we have my mentor, Mr. Mike DeLaser. He is a co-founder of Redbox, and he'll be funding future purchase orders for just a 5% fee, allowing me to grow this company as quickly as possible without having to give up equity. We also have Mr. John Edwards, store manager of Whole Foods, Robert Valerio, corporate Kroger buyer, Don Kiefer, Publix buyer for 30 years, Mike Chu, my sourcing agent overseas, as well as Julia Ackman of Capital Technology, who sells in big box retailers. So I can manufacture Coconut Twist for $7 and I can either wholesale it for $17, giving me a 59% margin, or I can retail it for $30, giving me a 77% margin. So our true customer markets are retailers B2C and direct consumers B2C, with our target market being health conscious consumer between the ages of 18 to 45, as well as those of the Hispanic and Asian population. This gives us a market potential of $828 million. So year 1, Coconut Twist will be launched retail and wholesale, and will be sold in Florida, the Midwest, with a very conservative revenue of $162,000, which is just 50% that of Coconut Jack's 9-month revenue. Year 2, we expand the product line and also go to New York City, Los Angeles, and Hawaii. And then year 3, we expand the product line even further and go after remaining metropolitan areas. So 20% of revenue is going to go towards sales and marketing. Salaries will be taken in year 2 when the team is expanded. And the office space will also be leased in year 2 as well to help with that team expansion. I'm asking $125,000 for 20% equity in Cocovana, and this will be used for sales and marketing budget as well as general administrational expenses. And it's a great investment because the Coconut Twist is a revolutionary new tool that will change the way the world loves coconuts forever. Cocovana, create your paradise. Thank you.
End of a timer. Okay. All right, judges, we've got 5 minutes. Tom, do you have a question for Sheldon?
I'm just curious. I know you've got some advisors that are buyers from the industry. In my experience, nobody will let you retail something at a price point lower than they're going to sell it for. If you're competing with them, and the markup that they want is going to be quite a bit higher than what you're allowing for based on your retail sales price if you're selling directly. What's your answer to that?
Yeah, so I've already pitched this to both Kroger and Whole Foods, and both of those companies like the 43% margins of me selling it to them for 17 and then them retailing it for 30. So they were completely fine with that. When I met with the Lowe's team last week, they were completely fine with the 43% margins too. Actually, when I did a little more research, that's a little bit too sweet for them because it's usually around 35 to 38% margin for Lowe's. So they're getting it at 43%. So yeah, they're completely fine with the margins right now. And things have changed in the last couple of years when it comes to retail. So for this category of kitchen gadgets, the 43% has been fine. I pitched it to 7 retailers. All 7 have said yes. 3 of those are the big box retailers. So I think we're good to go there.
Great.
Coconut water is too sweet. All right, April, you got a question for Sheldon?
Yeah, so Sheldon, nice job on the presentation. Why did the company Mark Cuban back fail?
For that one, because I think partially one of the reasons.
Yeah, I assumed you
did.
Yeah,
it did. You're completely correct. So they never got a patent for it. So when they first went onto Amazon, they did a horrible job with the manufacturing to where they couldn't keep up with it. That's where I bought, this competitor product on there. Everyone knocked off the product, so they couldn't control the market share for it. So when they went on Shark Tank, they lied about getting a patent for it. And I looked up the founder of that company, Dave Goodman. There's no patent for it. So they never got a patent for it. So now everyone's knocking off that company on Amazon. Even this coconut knife product has been knocked off as well. And the top 10 of those knockoff companies in Amazon is doing over $1 million in revenue per year when you use a Jungle Scout to find it out. But they can't control the market share, unlike me. That's why these big retailers like me so much, because I hold the patent for that and they know they're going to be able to control the market share with it as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shout out to Jungle Scout, Auburn grad, and his wife Liz Mercer.
Oh, wow.
Auburn grad. So yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, how many people are you estimating drink coconut water direct from a coconut?
Direct from the coconut, that is information that we try to get from the retailers and also from the distributors, and they're not giving that information at all. I would say it's definitely within, around 100,000, maybe just in the United States alone. I would say hopefully more than that. But right now it's hard to really predict that when all that information is all proprietary at this stage. So I can only look at the industry and see how much is moving.
The reason I was asking, so in your projections for year one, you have yourself selling about 2,500 of your
coconut twist.
Thank you, coconut twist.
Yeah.
I got confused because Cocovana is the company name.
Brand.
So I was just trying to understand how you came up with the 2,500 number for year one for sale.
Yeah, I think it's just going based off of splitting it 50% of what the Coconut Jack revenue was. And then from there, just taking an estimated guess of how much is going to be split with online sales versus retail sales and talking to a lot of those store managers to see how much they're selling out. Or that's why I predicted in retail, we should be selling more in that, okay, as compared to just the online sales itself.
Okay, so let me clarify. The Coconut Jack is the one that didn't patent their product and was on Shark Tank?
Yes, this one.
Okay, so do you plan to be on Shark Tank if you're taking 50%? I'm just trying to understand your numbers.
Yeah. Potentially, yes. Like I would be open to going on Shark Tank, sure, to get more exposure for it. Definitely, so just understanding the numbers, it's just based conservatively off of 9 months, of Coconut Jack's revenue, of just predicting that I can just do half of that, basically, even though I have a better tool that's cheaper and more affordable. It's just a very conservative estimate right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lee, do you have a question?
I do. What is the biggest issue you see bringing this to market? And from your manufacturing chain, you mentioned, I believe it was China?
Yes, manufacturing in China.
Manufactured. Have you looked at doing anything that wasn't necessarily overseas? I'm thinking about because of restrictions of COVID and things of that nature that were really unpredictable.
Yeah, so I did try to manufacture the product in America initially, but the red tape was just super high for it. I had to go overseas at that point. COVID isn't really much of an issue overseas right now with manufacturing with China. They're back up and running. They were shut down for a few months for it. So right now we're pretty good to go. And for COVID and this product, coconuts are still selling they have increased sales during the COVID pandemic right now. Like if you look at what's it called, like one of the bottled water coconut companies, Coca Vita, they've doubled their like sales right now over the last
Sheldon,
few minutes.
thank you very much. That's all the time we have for questions. Very good. All right, judges, you can take a few minutes to work on your judging, and Alabama, you're up next. And for those of you that were wondering, Tara is an Auburn fan.
Well, I just need to make clear who I represent here, you know, I mean.
But she's going to be an impartial judge, okay?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I also grew up in Arkansas, so I do bleed red for the Razorbacks.
Good. Dalton and Reboot Reforestation, Alabama. Are you guys about ready?
Yes, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay. Well, as soon as the judges let me know they're ready. Judges? Okay, ready to go?
Sounds good.
Alabama, we'll start whenever you're ready. I'll start the timer. Just go.
Hi, my name is Dalton Morris.
And I'm Michael Malone.
And we are two of the 4 co-founders of Reboot Reforestation, a drone company dedicated to reforestation and conservation. Reboot Reforestation aims to monitor and identify threats to ecosystems and to rebuild natural habitats using sustainable drone technology. Our journey began 1 year ago when we were discussing the pressing issues facing our generation. We were troubled by climate change, habitat loss, and increasing numbers of endangered species. So we decided to do something about it. We conducted 54 interviews of logging companies, reforestation companies, nonprofits, nurseries, scientists, and land trusts. We identified 4 major pain points in the reforestation and conservation sectors. These are costly reforestation, inefficient restoration, slow data collection, and difficulty monitoring invasive species. Reforestation is slow, costly, and labor intensive. It uses large machines which damages the soil. Inefficient restoration leads to, is costly, labor intensive, and is difficult. Restoration and data collection of grassland, marshland, and coastal estuaries are slow and costly. Invasive species cost the US economy $100 billion per year, which includes crops, forests, wildlife, and homes. Monitoring invasive species is labor intensive, costly, and difficult. Reboot Reforestation will use drone technology to quickly collect multispectral data and to efficiently restore ecosystems for private landowners, conservation organizations, and land trusts. We will implement 2 drone designs, the first being a reforestation drone and the second being a surveying drone. The reforestation drone will deliver seed balls to deforested areas and will scatter seeds to restore grassland, wildflowers, and marshlands. The surveying drone will be used to perform vegetation analysis, identify invasive species, monitor land, and to monitor controlled burns.
Our value proposition is to decrease the cost of restoration by 30 to 70%, restore ecosystems 25 times faster, and reduce labor costs by 96%, all while minimizing soil compaction and erosion. Our surveying drones will speed up data collection 200 times, decrease surveying labor costs by 92%, and collect consistent and precise data. A single drone can survey 250 acres per hour, which speeds up data collection compared to crews 200-fold. A single drone can save 200 to 400 hours of labor per day. In the Southeast, approximately 856,000 acres are planted each year by the logging industry. Revenues from capturing 1% of this reforestation market will amount to $770,000. In the conservation industry, the Nature Conservancy and the World Resources Institute lead the Reforestation Accelerator, which aims to reforest 370 million acres by 2030. Also, our data collection business line will tap into the $17.1 billion environmental monitoring industry. Reboot Reforestation has a competitive pricing system. Typically, restoration costs are $100 to $200 per acre. However, we can do the same job faster, cheaper, and with less labor. Our price points for the reforestation and restoration services are $90 and $80 per acre, respectively. Data collection will be charged at $150 per hour, plus data processing time. The average gross margin per unit for reforestation and restoration is 52%, and our primary source of revenue, data collection, is 85%. Our capital needs include funds to use at our test site at Coldwater Gardens, a UAV glider, the Parrot Sequoia multispectral sensor, and producing a MVP seed scattering device, purchasing data processing software, and hiring a data scientist. Our total capital need is $67,000. $67,000. We are Reboot Reforestation. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
Why don't we start with April this time?
Hey, thank you very much for the presentation. So talk to me, I understand the pricing model. Talk to me about your actual customer. Who would come to you and say, I'd like to buy your services and pay you?
Initially, we have three main customer segments that include land trusts, nonprofit organizations for the environmental organizations like the Nature Conservancy, and then the last one being farmers. So as we expand, we do hope to expand into the farming industry as well, and then into the conservation sectors.
Gotcha. And their benefit for paying you is, can you articulate that for me?
Yes. So regarding the reforestation, we can do it much faster. We can do it 200 times faster than traditional methods, as well as much cheaper. We can do it for about half the price.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. How about Lee? Do you have a question for Reboot Reforestation?
Two-part question. One is, what is the difference between reforestation and restoration? Isn't reforestation restoration?
Well, reforestation is solely for replanting forest. Restoration includes coastal estuaries, marshlands, grasslands, wildflowers. Restoration is a more all-encompassing term.
Okay, because I noticed your pricing model was different, 90 versus 80. Okay, so the next one is, how do you know the technology works? What have been your sample?
Mm-hmm. So we're, regarding the actual drone, we're partnering with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association in Mississippi. They've been developing a heavy lift drone that's fully electric for the past 5 years. It can fly for an hour and carry 20 pounds, which is insane. No drone on the market can do that. And they're currently developing their second version of it, which can fly for 2 hours and it'll be gas powered. And then regarding the actual seed balls, this method of using seed balls, so it's clay, soil, seeds, and ash, it's been used in Africa for hundreds of years. The benefit of seed balls is that it locks in moisture, provides 6 months of nutrients, and protects from predators. So we hope to use the seed balls to increase the germination rate compared to traditional seed scattering.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Tara, do you have some questions for?
I do. Okay, so perhaps I've misunderstood. You're not in the business of manufacturing these drones. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So your business is a service-based business. You're going to utilize someone else's drones through the oceanic. Sorry, you just said it just a minute ago, and I can't get it. Okay. So they have drones. You will go out and sell your services to farmers, land grants, or land conservation. Is that what I'm hearing you say? So this is a service-based model.
Yes, that's correct. And we're developing the seed scattering device, which will be compatible with their drone. So that's where our IP comes together. We have a strategic partnership where we'll both be able to use each other's technology.
Okay, so you're not manufacturing drones, but you are manufacturing a seed scattering device that attaches to a drone?
Yes, that's correct.
Got it. And you're using ash, seed, and something else that keeps it moisturized. Got it.
And clay, exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tara. Tom, do you have a question for Reboot Reforestation?
Do you have a feel for the relative effectiveness of that air seed drop as opposed to the more traditional planted seedlings?
Yeah, so that's what we're currently assessing. We've done 2 test sites, 2 test plants. The first one unfortunately failed due to intense vegetation competition. However, we did a second test site, which is much larger. It's 10 acres at Coldwater Gardens. And we have a further partnership with them to do another 90 acres within the next year. So we hope to get that data soon.
Yeah, that's going to be the key. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone have any last questions? We've got 30 seconds left. Anybody? Question?
On a manufacturing standpoint, can you talk about, how difficult it's going to be to manufacture your product and where you would do that?
Yeah, definitely. We currently have a couple of interns that's working for us, and they've been researching several local companies that do manufacture. We'll be using a lightweight plastic for the outer coating, and then it'll weigh roughly 1 to 3 pounds. So we will be outsourcing that for a local company in.
Good. Thank you very much, Dalton. And Alabama, fantastic. Okay, judges and contestants, we're going to take a small intermission. Let's say we're back here at 2:20. How about that? 2:20 Eastern time. That would be 1:20 Central. Okay, we'll see you back at 2:20. Thank you. Everyone, we'll start in about 90 seconds. We'll get going again. And first up will be South Carolina.
Are we muted? We aren't. Okay, I don't hear his audio. We're not receiving any audio from your end. We see your video, but no audio is coming through.
Is audio coming through?
Yes, now we're good. Now we're good. Now we're good.
I'm just faking you out.
Okay. Well, you got us.
Okay. Lee, are we about ready to start?
Absolutely. I apologize.
No worries. You're fine. We've got plenty of time. In fact, we're right on time. We're right on time. South Carolina, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, judges, everyone ready? Okay, Jeff Coat and Redwood, start whenever you're ready.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nick, and this is my partner, Jonah. And when you think about innovation, you usually think about a big solution to a big problem. But that's not always how innovation starts. Innovation usually starts as a specific solution to a niche problem. And we found our niche in the residential solar industry. And frankly, it has a problem. You see, their customer acquisition costs have absolutely ballooned over the last several years, and it's especially bad for the bigger companies. Vivint, the second largest solar company in the country, had to pay about $15,000 to acquire a single customer last quarter, while smaller firms are only paying about a seventh of that. Jonah, why is that?
Well, it boils down to what we call the AdWords problem. If you look at Google AdWords or Facebook and Google's digital advertising generally, it's sold via an auction model. And the solar market is very unconcentrated. So you're going to have many bidders in those auctions for ad space. Many bidders leads to high prices. This has driven the cost very high. But as Nick mentioned, small firms are avoiding this problem. And they're doing it because they use a different model that doesn't rely on digital ads. It's going to sound pretty familiar. We call it the good old boys model. It begins with salespeople building out interpersonal networks. They go, pitch personally, then close sales and strengthen their network. So this approach is cheap, it's simple, and you get network effects because every time a sale is closed, that interpersonal network gets stronger. However, it's got some drawbacks. It doesn't scale very well, and it can't leverage big data effectively. And these things help to keep small firms small. So for the larger companies, we see them use what we call the digital model. It begins with that AdWords problem with Google and Facebook. They target ads. Hopefully, those ads generate some good leads. And then salespeople are able to go out and pitch personally, close sales. So this process is used by the bigger players because it's scalable and it's fast. It can also leverage big data. However, it's extremely expensive. $15,000 to acquire a single customer is way too high. And your conversion rates are only around 1% typically. So these are problems, but also the data is closed source, meaning that nobody outside of Google or Facebook can ever lay eyes on it or learn anything from those insights. So these are the two solutions on the market right now, and they both have significant drawbacks. But we think we have the third solution, something that's going to make all the difference and bridge the gap between the two. Let's run through how this works. It begins with prospect identification. We use our database and our algorithms to identify the individuals or businesses that can benefit most from solar energy. Then the system generates sales tools. These contain the information that matters most to each individual prospect. So think about annual ROI for businesses or monthly savings for homeowners. After this is done, salespeople are able to go out and pitch personally, but they do it in a way that's more efficient because we've already identified their prospects, and that's more informed because of those sales tools we generate. Then when they close sales, our database gets stronger because we built it from the ground up to incorporate all the information they gather out in the field. So this approach is the best of both worlds. It utilizes big data and interpersonal networks. It's cheap and it's scalable. It's also new. So that means we have development costs and it takes time to onboard new partners. However, we've got the perfect team to handle that.
Absolutely. So obviously there's myself and Jonah, but there's also Ian Money, our back-end engineer who couldn't be here today. Now, across the three of us, we have every skill and every bit of training and every bit of experience we need to make this work well. And in fact, we already have been in our beta test. So after we had our proof of concept, we moved on to alpha testing. And in that process, we kind of realized that, hey, there's a lot more demand for this than we can currently supply. That's when we had to bring Ian on to help us develop our back end. And once that's done, hopefully by the end of the year, we should move on to capturing the South Carolina market. And our goal is to have 10% of that market by 2022. Once we've done that, we plan to start expanding beyond the borders of South Carolina and eventually beyond the Southeast. Jonah, you want to tell them how we're going to capture the market?
Absolutely, Nick. Thank you. So we have a pretty simple philosophy when it comes to bringing new partners on. For growing firms, they care about scalability, right? We bring them a customer acquisition process that scales well and is still inexpensive. In return, we get data no other company has access to, and of course, recurring revenue. For established firms, they have this big problem with customer acquisition costs. We solve that, bringing them higher profit margins. And of course, in return, we receive lots of recurring revenue. Now, we could talk about the solar industry as a whole because it's like $750 billion. Just 10% of that market here in South Carolina, generating revenue from charging 1/10 what those Vivint customer acquisition costs were. We're talking about $1.2 million in revenue. So we've been running alpha tests for the last little while, and we'd like to wrap it all up by telling you how one of those went. In a B2B prospecting trial that we ran, the prospects generated with our system were 16 times more effective than a comparable digital ad campaign. One of our partners, Ken Yamashiro, put it really well. He said, man, if something like this existed, we'd already be using it. So we crammed a lot of information into these 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and open the floor for some questions.
Much. Okay. Ready to start with the questions. Judges, how about Lee? Do you have a question for this group?
Yeah, talk a little bit, if y'all would, speak to your competition and how, this remains proprietary.
All right. So on the subject of competition, I think Jonah can handle that.
Sure thing. So there's such a need for a solution like this in the market that people are actually adapting tools that absolutely were not made for this. If you look up Renomi, they are a similar database type solution that was built out for commercial real estate prospecting. And we've actually run into a couple solar companies that are trying to use that to identify solar prospects, despite the fact that none of the information in Renomi's database is specific to the solar industry. But as to how we keep things proprietary, while we're developing the database, we use it as an internal tool. So nobody else is going hands-on with our tool. Nobody else is touching our data. All we do, we go to companies and we say, hey, we can bring you exactly what you need. The prospects that are perfect for what you sell and the information about them that you need to know to sell.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. April, do you have a question for this group?
Sure. I like your little team dynamics going on. Y'all have a fun time. It's obvious. So it's nice. So if you are successful, assuming you are successful, it sounds like you are from your alpha testing. Basically, what you're doing is reducing the cost of the CAC, customer acquisition, by better filtering the leads. Can you do it for other industries?
Absolutely, we can. However, we can't right now. So okay. One of the reasons why we're sticking with the solar market is because of this pressing need and the availability of data that helps us filter these leads better. If we can find data sets that help us target people for specific services or industries, absolutely we can adapt the stuff that we have that's just universal. However, right now, we're sticking with the solar market because the data we have helps us target even better to this industry.
Do you have an interface? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
So do you have do your customers go straight to like a UI, a website from which they see the leads, or are you integrated with like a HubSpot or a CRM type tool that the leads go to?
So right now it's an internal tool. And actually we're still developing our database. So right now we're all just doing this out of command line. But we don't plan on making this into a SaaS product for quite a while. Instead, we're doing this basically as a service. We interview everybody's salespeople and then match specifically not to the company, but to the salesperson specifically. I mean, this is obviously done on behalf of the company, but that's one of our key advantages, is that we're targeting customers for individual salespeople.
Okay. Tom, do you have a question?
Mine were around the competitive piece of it, and I've got that answer already. Thanks.
Okay. Tara.
Yeah, April hit on my two big questions. So I won't ask you to repeat those. Do speak just a bit more to your revenue model. Could you pull up your slide again? I just want to make sure I understand how you're intending to make money.
Absolutely. Jonah, you want to talk on that?
Yeah, sure. So let's
if I can roll back. Oh, there we go. I was just not in the right menu.
There we go. This is the slide you had in mind?
Sure.
Yeah. So if we want to provide a bit more detail, a bit more context for this, there are two pricing models that we're considering. Now, we talk about this, as you can see there, revenue generated at 15 cents a watt. That's a solar industry specific number. And the reason that we use that is all of our market research, whether that's from the NREL or from Wood Mackenzie, they talk about these costs in terms of price per watt. But basically, we plan to offer our customers two different ways to pay. Either they can pay a set amount per prospect that we provide, or, and this is something we'll probably be more open to for much larger players, we provide them the data upfront at a rather minimal cost, and then there will be a certain price per watt commission paid to us on every system sold.
Interesting. Okay, so you potentially are tied to the success of the company. Their success becomes your success, so you're more invested in if they succeed versus, say, a subscription model. They use it, they don't use it, they succeed with it, they don't succeed with it, you still get paid.
Oh, well, we're out of time. Sorry, guys. Very good presentation from South Carolina. Fantastic judges. Take a few moments to get ready. In the meantime, Arkansas, can you start getting ready to present? Okay, judges, are we about ready? I see a thumbs up from April. All right. Okay. Arkansas Regen Technologies, start whenever you're ready, and I'll start the timer. Regen Technologies. Ashta, are you ready?
Yes. Just give me 1 second. Can you see the slides? Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Meet John. For some time now, John is suffering from pain and difficulty in carrying out daily life tasks. He consulted doctors and was diagnosed with blocked arteries. On their recommendation, he went through a bypass surgery to restore blood flow with the help of a vascular graft. Surgery was successful. Unfortunately, a week after the surgery, John's graft got infected, and 6 weeks later, he lost his leg. John is not alone. Out of 25 million vascular surgeries every year in US, 40% of grafts fail within first year. 6 to 17% get infected, and 25 to 33% undergo additional procedures. Our customer discovery with vascular surgeons shows that current grafts have high rate of rejections, infections, and other complications, causing suffering to the patients and costing hospitals valuable time, money, and resources. Infection is one of the major causes of graft complications. Current alternative of antibiotic or antimicrobial loading of grafts does not prevent infections and leaving surgeons frustrated and desperate for a solution. Regen Technologies has developed that solution. Hi, I'm Astha Malhotra, the founder and CEO of Regen Technologies and the inventor of our first product. Emily Vincic is our Chief of Marketing, and Grayson Morrow is our Chief Financial Officer. We have an experienced advisory board guiding us throughout our journey. We are a medical device company focused on improving vascular surgery outcomes, and our first product will replace current grafts and reduce vascular graft infections and failure rates. Let me introduce Sunflow, our pilot product. It's a FDA 510(k) Class 2 medical device, composed of a proprietary technology developed by us. This technology is infection resistant as compared to the current synthetic grafts seen in the graph below. No antibiotics or antimicrobials are used. The antimicrobial properties are inherent to the material and design. Additionally, it resembles human blood vessels structurally and mechanically, offering the advantages of biological grafts, but at a low price. This reduces the graft failure rates. This technology is conformable and can be tailored to pre-designed clinical specifications. As compared to our competitors, Sunflow is infection resistant, immune to antibiotic resistant bacteria, and does not contribute to increase in resistant strains. Can be stored easily and at room temperature, not adding any significant cost for storage or transport. And it resembles blood vessels. Additionally, to use Sunflow, surgeons do not need to change any techniques or get any special training. In short, Sunflow is a low-cost, off-the-shelf conformable graft with reduced rate of graft complications, resulting in less surgeries and readmissions and significant healthcare cost savings.
Broken down, our graphs can be used in the above 4 events, and within each, there's a large scope for improvement. The total global vascular graft market is a $3 billion market. US is $800 million, and hemodialysis is $99 million. We have chosen to pilot Synflow in the hemodialysis market because infections are most prevalent and there is a proven hunger for a better solution. We are following a well-established adoption strategy focused on surgeons and other hospital stakeholders. The emerging trends towards value-based medicine causes hospitals to seek technologies that reduce these complications. Key stakeholders and valued industry members like the ones we have identified here will instill trust and provide credibility for Synflow. On average, there are 175,000 annual hemodialysis surgeries involving vascular grafts in the US. Our projections show that we will be able to sell 2,000 units by 2025, capturing 1% of the market and achieving a 1.4 million in annual revenue. Our go-to-market strategy follows in the steps of other medical device companies by starting with a small direct sales team and a regional distributor who will provide already established connections with surgeons. As we grow, we will transition to a larger national distributor.
We are currently finishing in vitro testing and will soon begin animal testing for Synflow. This will lead us to our manufacturing and regulatory phase to prepare for and begin our clinical phase. We are pursuing grants and an angel investment of $1 million to help us satisfy the costs associated with these steps. We will then seek venture capital or other forms of financing to get through clinical trials to product deployment. In summary, we are presenting a strong investment opportunity to solve a major need in a $3 billion market with a committed team and well-positioned intellectual property. By 2028, we anticipate revenues of $87 million. Based on these projected revenues and comparable vascular graft technology investments and exits, we anticipate a valuation of $297 million by 2028, providing our early investors with a significant return on investment. Please join Regen Technologies as we create innovative products to improve vascular graft surgery outcomes. Thank you for your time.
Very good. All right. Judges, do we have some questions for Regen Technologies? Why don't we start with Tom?
It's really interesting. I'm curious about your kind of route to manufacturing with this, and then also what you see as your biggest risks right now.
We are having several discussions with certified GLP and GMP manufacturers, contract manufacturers. Medical Murray is one of them. So we're still figuring out how to go about it, but definitely we'll be going through a certified GLP, GMP medical device manufacturer. As far as risk, it's a medical device. There are risks. There can be product risk if the efficacy or efficiency is not proved. We have so far, whatever tests we have done in vitro, they have demonstrated us really good results. However, we still have to start the animal testing. So that's a big step for us. So we are waiting for those. Then the next big step would be the clinical trials and the regulatory, because all those are complex data. But we are figuring out those details. We have developed a plan for regulatory. We are having meetings with them. Also, there are new programs, expedited programs for regenerative medicine therapies. So we are hoping that we might get into them as some of our competitors have. So we might slow down that process and make it more easy. Then there could be marketing risk like product competition, Gore and Cryovane, they are well-established ones. But our product has significant technologies, and maybe these companies might be interested in us and acquiring us. So, and then there is another complication might be the third-party payer economics, about the insurance. That's right. What's most scary, I think. But yes, we are figuring out. We are having customer discovery with insurance companies, specifically Medicare, which is involved in the hemodialysis market. And we are having taking their feedback, how they're going to adopt it and all those things. So we are working on those risks and trying to manage them.
Great. Thank you.
Very good. Tara, do you have a question?
Yeah, so that was actually my question related to the barriers to entry for your competitors and how you're mitigating those risks currently while you're in the development phase, because I would assume you don't have a patent pending on the.
We do.
You do?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we have filed a provisional patent, and we are gonna file a complete patent soon once we get more information. We also we are improvising our technology because this technology has potential for other applications too. So we might have more claims. We also aim to file PCT for worldwide application to capture other markets and all. So we do have patent pending, that's one. And also we have superior technology as far as, and I'm sure our competitors would be interested, as I mentioned earlier. Maybe we would just partner with them instead of being in competition with them. So both of us benefit with that.
Mm-hmm. Are you in an accelerator program currently, your company?
We haven't done any fundings or any raisings as of yet.
Okay. And are you thinking about what your exit strategy might be, as in you mentioned maybe being acquired by another pharmaceutical company?
Grayson would be a better person to answer that. Grayson.
Yeah, there's been a lot of acquisitions as we showed on that last summary slide. So there's definitely potential for acquisition, or we've also discussed licensing out the product as well.
Got it.
Good. April, do you have a question?
Yeah, real quick. Are one of you the original founder, originator of the idea, or was this something you acquired through like a tech transfer?
It's my work, so I have invented this technology.
That's very, very cool. Very cool. And last question, what would you do with the funding from this competition?
The funding from this competition would go in the basic startup expensive, more specifically towards prototype development and maybe in the initial setup of the company and all those stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
Lee, do you have a quick question?
I do. Real quick, you mentioned 2025. What is your timeline to get through the clinical trials and to get to FDA approval?
You go to the roadmap slide.
Mm-hmm. It's not going backwards.
Yeah, so we're
okay. Well, we're out of time. Sorry, guys. Very good. Thank you, University of Arkansas. Next up is Mississippi State. So while the judges are getting their numbers in order, Mississippi State will be getting ready. Judges, are you ready? Okay. Mississippi State, are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, start when you're ready and I'll start the timer.
Sure, let me get this. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is AJ Moriel, and I'm the founder of StatTrack, which is a college football recruiting tool that pulls high school prospective student athletes' data from their Friday night or Thursday night high school games. So in America, there's over 1 million football players every year, and it's up to our FBS teams in Major Division I to choose 25 of them for each team to give a full scholarship to. So it's big decision to make regarding who you put on that scholarship. We're currently in a digital age, as everybody's very well aware, and with that means that communication with recruits is ramped up to the max. Recruits are hit with daily mailers, graphics, texts, and phone calls. All this kind of helps play into making the key decision in where that kid will go to school. So we currently get this information from a team of interns that spend their Friday nights kind of manually plugging all this in. They pull it from Twitter, they pull it from news articles, they pull it from all their various different sources. So we track over 200 prospects at Mississippi State. This was something that this screenshot is something we did a couple weeks back. It's a manual process, it's time consuming, takes forever, it's very tedious, and it's very error prone. It's easy to forget about, to do it on a Friday night, and you're relying on a bunch of 18 and 21-year-olds to get it done. So we took all this and we created StatTrack. StatTrack completely automates this process and cuts the time to almost 12 seconds compared to an 8-hour weekly process. So how it works is the recruiting staff will upload their Excel sheet to StatTrack. Their Excel sheet will consist of the players that they want to track in their high schools that they go to, and StatTrack kind of does the rest. So we've actually worked out a deal with ScoreStream. They're another smaller startup similar to MaxPreps, if you're familiar with MaxPreps, and we pull data from them, Twitter, and Google News to give to our clients. Our target markets are FBS schools, there's 130 of them, and FCS schools, there's 126. It's kind of an untapped market. There's not really a product like us that exists right now. In recruiting alone, spending has gone up by the millions over the years. Just last year, Georgia spent about $3.1 million on recruiting alone. This increase in spending leads to growing recruiting departments, so you have more players kind of recruiting and working in that office, and we're servicing a major need. We've had a lot of great feedback from prospective customers. We actually have Mississippi State on a beta right now. We plan to launch a full beta in January to work through with the spring football school. So we're kind of using the coronavirus to our advantage. After I tweeted out that we were competing in this competition, numerous Power 5 schools actually called me and my boss at Mississippi State about the product. This included 3 SEC programs. Competition is obvious. It's intern labor. It's free. It's cheap. They're supposed to do their jobs, but they don't always do it. And they pull their data from MaxPreps, Twitter, and local news articles. So while these other 3 sources may have what they're looking for, we take that information and we automate it, meaning that we completely cut out the human errors that can occur in this process. We're really fortunate to have this running at Mississippi State because it's saved us a lot of time and a lot of headache. Our team consists of myself. My name is AJ Moriel. Worked 3.5 years in college football recruiting. I have an extensive network in the college football community and a knowledge of the industry. My partner is Patrick Bell. He's a Mississippi State graduate who's worked as a software developer on a lot of other smaller startups, and he's worked for some major Fortune 500 companies as well. So to summarize kind of what we've talked about, we've created a tool that pulls data from local news, Twitter, journalists, and all these other players in the college football realm. And we have completely streamlined the process in order for it to be automated. It's a booming industry. A lot of money is being spent in recruiting, and it's an untapped market that we are currently on a looking to kind of create our own path in. We're charging a $3,000 subscription fee right now by the year, and we're looking to kind of mess around with that pricing point. Now we'd like to open up the board to any questions.
All right, AJ, thanks. Great job. Let's see, let's start the timer for judges. Lee, do you have a question for AJ?
Yes, I do. AJ, would you please talk about your revenue model? I know you're talking $3,000 per subscription, but just kind of talk about where you see yourself like 1 to 5 years.
Absolutely. So it's definitely something we're kind of playing with right now. We're kind of bouncing around numbers. We're trying to get a better feel about how to price the product right now, just because it is such a weird business and there's not a lot of other services out there that kind of do what we're doing. With $3,000 as our kind of starting price, we're looking at a revenue of about probably $60,000 for our first year, considering we already have about 20 schools ready to go. Obviously, we want to make more money than that. So we're thinking about doing package deals and stuff that could increase the price point a little bit. A lot of the feedback we've been getting recently is our price is too low. So that's definitely something that we're working to adjust.
Okay, April, you got a question for AJ?
Yeah, so in your target market, which right now is NCAA schools, I assume of all divisions, all 3 divisions, and maybe even JUCO, that's your target market. That's the folks that you would sell to right now in football. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Gotcha. So how, if at all, do you see the changes in the ability for athletes to profit from their name and likeness next year?
Related to our business?
Yes.
It's kind of an idea that we've been toying with. I'm not ultimately too sure how we would capitalize on that, because there are a lot of other companies that have kind of started to latch onto that. There's a company called Influencer that's already used by 65 of 65 Power 5 schools that kind of sends the athletes their photos, and they're already kind of breaking ground on kind of creating a website that would assign you a business that you would price point yourself at. It's something that we're kind of looking at. But we're really trying to stay true to our recruiting department market right now, and making life a little bit easier for them, and then kind of maybe circling back to the athletes later.
Good answer. Strategy is the art of sacrifice. Athletes could help you get your stats into your system though too. So I'll pass to the next judge. But good stuff. Really cool, AJ.
Thank you.
Great. Tom, do you have something for AJ?
I'm just curious about 2 things. It seems to me like this would be naturally expandable to anything that anybody's recruiting for in terms of athletics in college, right? It's not necessarily just football. I mean, the same sort of process would work with pretty much anything else, correct? Where you're keeping stats.
So yeah, it's something that we've kind of also played with. The problem that we have with expanding to other sports right now is the recruiting class size. So with Mississippi State, in my experience, so we've recruited about 300 kids each cycle. So the 2021 cycle, we're recruiting 300 kids, and we signed 25. So you look at basketball signs about 4 kids, so they recruit about 25. Baseball, they sign 10, 15, 20 in some years on half scholarships. So they recruit smaller numbers. So we're not really sure if there would be as large of a market as there would be for the other sports. But it's definitely something that we want to do market research on and see if we can get more information on later in our life cycle.
And just a quick follow on from a competitive perspective, really it's first mover that you're working on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tara, do you have a question?
No, sorry. Oh, I'm not muted. Everybody captured my question, so thank you.
Fantastic. April or Lee, you have any follow-on questions?
Well, I have lots of, not questions, lots more just like ideas. So to be a theme with me, but no, I mean, yeah, you have a total TAM, a total addressable market challenge. It's just not that big where you are right now. At the same time, it's a completely untapped market, to your point. And as Tom said, like, you have to move first, and you have to have like a top-notch, easy to use, value add product. At the same time, given how small your TAM is, you're going to want to think of ways to expand it. So whether it's getting into other sports, whether it's getting into ancillary services, whether it's generating early attachment, I'll say, to these athletes, because you got to get their stats in there anyways. If their stats aren't in there, they're not going to get on they're less likely to be on the recruiting list for these big universities. So how do you get them to engage in this process? And a lot of stuff just to think about. So there you go. I filled the gap for you.
Thank you. I'd love to get in touch with you if you have any other ideas, or if you want to carry on the conversation. I mean, we're very open to anything really right now.
I'll reach
Good
out to
job,
you.
April.
Thank you.
AJ. And we'll come up with a way for you guys to network. Normally we do this in person, so it's a lot easier, but we'll find a way to hook everyone up, because I'm sure the judges have lots of great feedback to give to the teams, and we encourage you to reach out. This concludes the preliminary round of competition. The judges will huddle and determine the top 3 teams who will pitch in the finals round in the afternoon. Judges, as soon as we finish talking here, you can exit this session and join the judges' deliberation room in Zoom. We're going to meet judges over there in the deliberation room in 10 minutes. So at 3:05, if you could join us in the deliberation room. You'll join with the pitched group 2 judges, and you've got a really tough decision. We've had 14 outstanding presentations, and you've got to narrow that down to the top 3. So good luck with that. I'm glad I'm not in that room. I'm sure it'll be a spirited and difficult decision, but we got to get to 3. Thank you, judges. Thank you, participants. You've all been fantastic. And we'll regroup here at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, we'll announce the top 3 teams, not in any particular order, because you still have to pitch to a separate final group of judges. So judges, go to the deliberation room, figure it out at 3:05, and at 4 o'clock, we'll all get back here to back on the mainstream for the announcement of the finalist teams and the start of the final round of the competition. Thank you all.